I took my little boat out for a nice ride one sunny day. As I went farther into the open sea, I noticed something strange ahead. A massive white yacht sat empty, drifting gentle on the small waves. I wondered why such a fancy boat was abandoned way out here. My curiosity made me want a closer look. As I got nearer, everything seemed in perfect shape. The floors shone bright in the sun. The lounge chairs looked freshly used. Big towels hung neatly in place. But oddest was the dining room. I saw tables piled high with steaming food through the glass, enough for a fancy party. I caught my motor and paddled the last bit over. Holding the rail, I slowly climbed up the platform stairs to peek inside.
Hello! I called, nervous. No answer but my echo. But the boat still rocked a little, meaning someone was abroad recently steering it. I stepped into the open glass door and gasped. The shiny kitchen was huge. Counters loaded with lobster tails, juicy steaks, bowls of salad, a full buffet for 20. My stomach rumbled hard. Pots of sauces still bumbled hot on the stove. This spread was made mere moments before. Where was all the guests and crew? Heart racing fast, I wandered the rooms calling out polite hellos. Beds were messy, clothes thrown all over like people had left in major rush. But search as I may, not a single person could be found anywhere. I shook my head, very confused. Just then, I noticed quick motion blur outside. I rushed back to peek and saw an inflatable raft drifting 30 feet out, trailing a wake smeared red. Strewn across it was a faded, bloody handprint and a message scrawled frantic, "Leave now." I stumbled back, dizzy with fear. Who wrote that warning cry? Eyes straining along the raft's path, I made out something limp floating face down. I seized up in terror, realizing it was a man's lifeless body, bloody froth bubbling around his open mouth. Huge sharks and birds already circled for the feast. The terrified clues told me I had mere seconds before the unknown returned to finish its grim work. With panicked, wheezing breaths, I lowered my little boat back to water, pulling the rig lines with trembling hands. I had to escape this floating nightmare now. Just as I began tugging my big cooler cargo from the lower deck, a woman's blood-curdling shriek rang from somewhere behind me. I spun around and almost fainted at the sight. Dragging her mangled body towards me was a young woman, trails of thick blood smearing the polished floor in her wake. She wailed delirious, clawing closer, crying words I couldn't understand. In total panic myself, I accidentally dropped the heavy cooler with a crash. It spilled everywhere, creating a small barrier between me and the crazed woman. Without thinking, I vaulted the railing, half falling toward my boat below. But my frantic nerves made untying the rig knot impossible. As I fumbled with the ropes, the woman crawled closer against the inside window. I twisted to see her smashed, bloody face glaring psychotic, empty black eyes meeting mine as she grunted and slapped the glass right at me. Somehow, my fear shook the ropes free. As soon the motor started, I saw them. A tiny arm was wrapped tied around the woman's waist. A girl with bewildered, tear-filled eyes peered out at me, dying but still alive, crying pitiful and scared. I longed deeply to save the girl somehow from this nightmare boat, but to stay even a minute more meant only more helpless death. With weeping regret, I hit full throttle, their heartbroken cries fading smaller across the shimmering sea behind me. Safely back ashore, I crumbled heart into tears, mind rejecting what I just witnessed. Why me? Why this glimpse of burning hell consuming heaven with no power to stop it? What sort of unholy evil birthed such a scene, too bizarre and grisly to be anything of this earth? I stumbled, shell-shocked home. In vain, I pleaded with police to search the waters for that mammoth ghost ship, but with no proof or exact location, they dismissed my ramblings. Later, the news sent icy chills down me. A luxury liner was found mysteriously abandoned off the Atlantic. Authorities had no explanation, yet I knew. The bloody yacht would now haunt my dreams eternally.
In the weeks after, obsessed with unraveling how such a fine ship met such a savage end, I scoured articles and internet ramblings for hints. Though most details were locked up top secret, a leaked video surfaced confirming my worst fears. Grainy security footage from abroad showed gleeful passengers having tropical cocktails on deck. Moments later, strange masses blacker than night swarmed the decks from all sides. They seemed to swallow light itself as they poured on board. Their shapes caught and bit into human flesh with organized precision. Awful screams as the dark shadow creatures ripped people into soggy piles of meat and bone. Everyone quickly massacred by the relentless, unseen demons.
The Roanoke colony disappeared long ago. The mystery of missing Bosnians in train cars is a modern puzzle. Clues from history are starting to make sense to me. Creatures that live underground have always preyed on us. They lurk like sharks coming up to feed on us when they need to. Their hunger will drive them to the surface again soon. I became quiet and scared over the next few years. My happy attitude clouded by scary discovery. Sometimes there were reports of people disappearing from ships and shores around the world. But officials always said it was just freak accidents or bad weather. I knew deep down that something sinister was happening, and evil forces were getting closer to our world. One night I woke up to strange noises outside. I looked out the window and saw a creepy yacht floating near my deck. It was covered in fog, and I could hear faint screams and see shadows moving inside. I felt scared, as if the yacht was following me to finish something it had started.